Welcome into College Football Now. I am Tom Downey with the first week of the college football season over and the first week of the NFL season now upon us. Great time to do a way too early NFL mock draft. The order, by the way, is based on the Chat Sports NFL Power Rankings, so I'll have that video link in the description. You can go complain with where your team is ranked over there. Number 1, the Saints. And look, if you're picking number 1 overall in your New Orleans, you probably need to go get a new quarterback. I don't have Arch Manning in this mock draft. I reserve it to change my mind based on how he plays, but for now I left him off of it. LaNorris Sellers looked really good against Virginia Tech. The strength he has is unbelievable to avoid sacks and showcase some good passing stuff as well. I think he still leans on the legs and the mobility, but the upside of Sellers, I think, is better than any quarterback in this class that's projected to go pro right now. It's a worthwhile gamble at number 1. I'll be honest, I don't love Drew Allar at number 2 overall. I actually do think he would fit pretty well with what Kevin Stefanski would like to do. I want to see him deliver in the biggest and brightest moments against the Oregons, against the Ohio States in the college football playoff. If he does that, he has the traits. He's gotten better over the course of his college career. The inconsistencies have to get ironed out, and we're not going to know if that happens until later in the year. We're projecting growth for all of these guys after all. Now, if you want even more NFL mock drafts, type me in the comment section of today's show. Get down there and type me if you want even more NFL mock drafts. Number 3, the Tennessee Titans. Keldric Faulk, who I think is a really talented player. I think fits pretty decent with what the Titans are going to want to do on defense. You know, bigger body, but can do some inside-outside stuff. A lot of good edges in this class. As we'll get to, you can take your pick for who you want to put at number 3 to Tennessee, or even a non-edge, who we'll get to here in a little bit. Garrett Nussmeier at number 4. I'll be honest, I did really think about putting Garrett Nussmeier at number 1 with his dad, Doug Nussmeier. I went the upside of LaNorris Sellers instead, and then I did put the local guy, Allar, back to Cleveland there. I think Nussmeier, with the coach's background, doing some high-level, like, actual NFL quarterback things and not just being run around, make play guy, will appeal to many NFL franchises. If the Colts are picking 4, turns out Daniel Jones is bad. Go figure. Number 5, Caleb Downs of the Jets. I went back and forth between Caleb Downs here at 5 and Peter Woods at number 6. I kind of flip-flop back and forth as to who would have been a better option for the Jets and the Panthers. I had Peter Woods going 6 to the Carolina Panthers. Both are among the top 2 players in the NFL draft. Neither team is in desperate need of a safety or a defensive tackle, but they have options. Quentin Williams, Derek Brown, respectively. Panthers paid Trayvon Merrick. I felt like the Jets had maybe just a slightly bigger need for a safety. I like Andre Sisco, and I know they drafted Malachi Moore, but I think just best player available there for the Jets and for the Panthers with some of the top quarterbacks already off the board. I think Downs and Woods are 2 very strong answers for who is the best player in the 2026 NFL draft. Who do you think the answer to that question is? Let me know in the comments of today's show. Number 7, Spencer Fano to the New York Giants, adding an offensive tackle. He's playing on the right side for New York. He's done that before. Makes plenty of sense. Francis Mauigoa. I'm going to add another protector for Cleveland up front, who I think could do left side or right side stuff from the Miami Hurricanes to the Cleveland Browns. You take the quarterback early, you should probably get him some help in some capacity. Offensive line run here. Caleb Lomu, the other Utah offensive tackle, also very good. You guys see Utah blow out their opponent week 1. It was a fun game. There's someone like Lomu more than Fano. I've got Fano over him for now, but a little bit of flavor of ice cream preferences there. A lot of routes I could have gone at 10 for Arizona. I went with Jordyn Tyson, who I think has a chance to be the first wide receiver drafted. But if Tyson doesn't go 10, you could easily see a slide down into the mid to late teens or even the 20s because it's not that great of a wide receiver class for now. I think Tyson's going to have a pretty big year. You keep the local guy, pair him with Marvin Harrison, and allow him to do some other things and not just be on the outside the entire time in that Cardinals offense. TJ Parker, edge from Clemson. There's 3 guys I really like at edge that are all in the top 15. They could have been as high as 3, could have been as low as 15. I think Parker, I thought Woods was better in the first game against LSU. Tigers had a pretty good game plan, but I do think Parker offers some really good edge rushability, and the Patriots, I think, are in need of that. They're in need of a lot of things, frankly. They could have been a Tyson team, too. Number 12, Jermod McCoy, coming off the injury. We'll see how the health, rehab, all that stuff ends up going when he's fully healthy. Had he been healthy, I mean, shoot, you could have made an argument he would have been in that top 10-ish conversation. I am projecting health here long term. We'll see how that plays out. Obviously, suffering it like in January last year is unfortunate. But I think the talent there for a team that desperately needs corners, that's going to be a very popular mock draft pick. Let's put that way. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. It's simple to play. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. You get those picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks also invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. For this upcoming slate of college football, here's what I have. Ryan Wingo, more than receiving yards. I'm thinking bounce-back game for the Longhorns offense. Arch Manning would be better at San Jose State. Texas should take care of business there. John Mateer, as part of the Oklahoma-Michigan must-watch game. More than 1.5 passing TDs. He's a fun prospect. Justice Haynes was great last week. Still only 64.5 yards on the ground. I like the more than on that one as well. So go download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Number 13, Caden Proctor, I don't think played very well, frankly. In his first game of the season, there were just too many inconsistencies. I think developmental, there's a lot of talent there. Rams can probably be a bit more patient with this pick coming over from the Falcons as part of that trade. I think the upside is still guys who move like that and have that power are tough to find. That makes him kind of worth waiting on, hoping the breakout does come. Jeremiah Love to the Cowboys here. I thought about going edge. I flipped it later, and the Cowboys get an edge later to kind of tie in. The Micah Parsons trade pick is funny. Best running back in the class right now by a pretty good margin is Jeremiah Love. The Cowboys haven't invested heavily in the backfield lately, but Love, I think, does a lot of really good stuff. I know it wasn't the best opening game of the season for him, but he's so explosive. He could go 14 or 15 to the Bears. You could easily flip these picks. I got Ruben Bain out of Miami, who looked a lot more like the freshman version for the Hurricanes edge rusher than the guy that we saw last year who was pretty banged up throughout the season. The Notre Dame tackles had no answer for him all night long. Top 10 pick is very much in play for Bain. There are some fans of Fernando Mendoza. I want to see it play out for the course of the season. He does do, again, some high-level quarterback things that I think are important and valuable. If Pittsburgh's picking 16, they probably are going to be in the quarterback market. It's a little bit dangerous to be in the Kenny Pickett range, I suppose. So how many quarterbacks end up going in round 1? I have 4 in this mock draft, which might be a little high, might be a little low, might end up being spot on. So get your predictions in. How many quarterbacks go in round 1 of the NFL draft? Number 17, Austin Barber, the tackle out of Florida. I like his game. I think Florida's actually done a decent job with that system that Billy Napier runs of developing some offensive linemen. More offensive line help is still needed in Seattle. Avion Terrell was a little up and down in his first game of the season for Clemson. A tough matchup against LSU. But got the bloodlines. Vikings need a secondary player. Corner or safety mock draft picks here, I'm sure, will be pretty popular. A lot of routes I could have gone with Denver. I didn't want to give Kenyon Sadiq to the Chiefs. That just felt like it wasn't fair to anybody. So I'm going to put him to the Denver Broncos instead. I know Evan Ingram's under contract, but probably for a year. You can always move on if you want to. I think Sadiq's athletic gifts and upside are going to be really appealing to a coach like Sean Payton. Xavier Chaplin, the tackle out of Auburn, who very much high on Dane Brugler. I think he was one of the first guys on him there. Niners need offensive tackle help at some point to replace Trent Williams or right tackle help long term. It just makes sense. I will trust Dane on Connor Lew. I did watch Auburn's run game just bulldoze the crap out of everybody in week 1. Connor Lew, the center. The Texans have invested in the offensive line pretty heavily. I think the one thing they're missing is actually lock-in great center. I think that would unlock a lot of the offensive line. I'm a big fan of centers. If you have a great center, it makes the rest of the lives for your offensive linemen easier. I thought about trench player for the Bengals, but they've done a lot of that lately, so I'll go corner. Cam Taylor-Britt is a free agent. We'll see if some of their other young guys can take a step forward this upcoming season. A.J. Harris out of Penn State. Bengals have kind of trended more towards the athletically gifted players, and that's certainly Harris. Caleb Banks, defensive tackle out of Florida, might have been a top 75, maybe even a bit higher draft pick had he turned pro last year. Went back, in theory, is going to be even better this upcoming season. Offers a big body up front for the Chargers, who could certainly use one. C.J. Allen out of Georgia. At some point, the Bucs are not going to have Levante David. Time to start prepping for the future with Allen. Mansour Delane, who had a really good game for LSU in the first game of the season against Clemson. You can go back and watch like one of our way too early 2025 NFL mock drafts, back when Delane was at Virginia Tech. He was on that list I had. I've always liked him. He was a little up and down last year for Virginia Tech. The talent's always been there. I liked what I saw in week 1, so I'm going to give him some love. Plus, the Rams badly need cornerback help. Maybe not the most like top-end athletically gifted, but the guy is just a good corner, and sometimes you shouldn't overthink things at all. Now, if you want even more NFL mock drafts, subscribe so you don't miss out. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/@chatsportstv. Not everyone's a big fan of Anthony Hill. I've come to acknowledge that. I think that there's a lot of physical gifts, and he can be more than just Kenneth Murray 2.0. I wonder if Dan Quinn is the perfect coach to maximize him. Give him some Frankie Luvo-esque reps. Not saying go full Micah Parsons, but he can do some DeMarvion Overshow and stuff. He can be a rusher for you as well. I think as like a Bobby Wagner replacement, that's a lot of fun athletic juice on that defense. Cowboys, they take an edge to replace the one they traded away. Mateo Uiagalelei out of Oregon. Lower competition the first week for the Ducks, but he looked awesome. I hope that like power continues. If it does, he might not make it to pick 27. Lions taking LT Overton. This did kind of turn into a run on edges because, well, when you're a good team, you don't have that many needs. You're drafting late, and hey, you want to get more passers in the rotation there. Overton could do some inside-outside stuff too, which I think actually fits pretty well with what the Lions could use. Denied Dennis Sutton. It is Deny, I've learned, by the way. The edge from Penn State, physically gifted. Hasn't put it together yet. There is a chance he could be a top 10 pick if he capitalizes on those gifts, but I think there's a lot more like development needed this upcoming season. Carnell Tate out of Ohio State, the Bills pick here at number 30 overall. Had that awesome catch against Texas where he essentially mossed the guy on kind of an underthrown ball from Julian Sayin. I think Tate's looked like he was more crisp route runner, which is a big deal for me. It's kind of a weird receiver class, but is worth at least getting 2 into round 1. David Bailey, the Stanford transfer to Texas Tech. Ravens get an additional edge rusher. They haven't always hit on those picks. Bailey was kind of a part-time player at Stanford, so I am curious to see how he gets deployed against the run more so for Tech this season. Isaiah World, I want to see how he plays this year. There's a lot of physical gifts there. I don't think he's put them all together, but where better to go if you are a developmental edge, or offensive tackle, I should say, than Philadelphia? They'll get the most out of you, or it's just never going to work for you. If your team does not have a first-round pick, don't worry. I still love you. I still gave picks for the Jags, Falcons, and the Packers because you guys deserve mock draft love too. Jacksonville at number 40. How about a defensive tackle? Iowa State's Dominique Orange, a.k.a. Big Citrus, a big body on the interior to help kind of clog some run lanes. Falcons at 45. How about Nick Harbor? I actually have no idea where Nick Harbor is going to go. He could just kind of not take another step forward and go back to school again, or he could become the CFB cheat code that he was in the video game and is unstoppable. I think he's still very raw as a receiver, but the height, weight, speed profile is unbelievable. Putting him with an offense with Drake London and Michael Penix would be quite a bit of fun. Then Green Bay, you trade away Kenny Clark. How about you draft a new defensive tackle to help kind of plug the interior of the defensive line? Darrell Jackson Jr. out of Florida State, a notable defensive tackle prospect in this year's class. So other guys I did not mention we'll get to here in a second, but grade this NFL mock draft for me. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comment section of today's show how do you think I did on this one. Other top draft prospects, Cade Klubnik didn't have a great day, so we'll drop him for now. Obviously, I didn't put Arch Manning in there because I think he's going back to school. We'll see. Mekhi Lemon has some fans at USC. Max Clare I like quite a bit from Ohio State, but he also had some drops in the first game of the season. That was not great. Jennings Dunker is an elite name at offensive tackle for Iowa. Christian Miller, I almost put him into the Eagles at 32, but I wanted to get Isaiah World in. R. Mason Thomas is kind of a situational pass rusher, but he's really good at it. those guys get drafted. I thought both Ohio State linebackers, Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese, looked incredible in week 1. I thought the top 2 LSU linebackers, Whit Weeks and Harold Perkins Jr., who is kind of a weird positionless player, kind of like Isaiah Simmons, and I got burned by that last time. Both those guys played really well, though. DJ McKinney, one of the top corners, and then Kamari Ramsey and Dylan Thieneman, top safeties, USC and Oregon, respectively.